Welcome to Conspiracy Deconstructed. We're the place you come to when you want to get past the noise, past the scary headlines, and really understand what's going on with some of these pervasive rumors.
We really try to drill down, get to the core facts, and hopefully turn some of that digital anxiety into, well, actual knowledge.
Exactly. Give you the tools, the understanding, and today we are tackling a big one. It hits close to home because, let's face it, we all have these things glued to our hands 24/7.
Our phones, yeah. We're diving into that really chilling modern urban legend, the long-ringing phone call. You know, the one from an unknown number?
Oh, yeah. This is pure digital age boogeyman stuff. And it's stressful because it gives you this one simple action, answering the phone, that supposedly brings down, total disaster.
Right. You get that call, it rings for, 7, 8, 9 times, way longer than usual. You don't recognize the number.
And the fear kicks in. What's the absolute core of the theory? Lay it out for us.
Okay, so the theory, in its most potent form, is this. If you answer that super long ringing call from an unknown number, some kind of adversary, could be a hacker, a stalker, an identity thief, maybe even worse, gets immediate deep access to your phone.
Instantly. Just from answering.
That's the claim. Answering is supposedly the final step that completes some kind of system compromise. It could lead to immediate tracking of your location, full phone cloning, or even marking you as a confirmed target for physical harm.
Wow. Okay, that's anxiety in a nutshell right there.
Yeah.
So our mission today really is to take that specific trigger, the long ring, and pull it apart.
Exactly. We need to separate the spooky online myths from the actual cybersecurity facts. How are phones really tracked? How are they compromised?
We want to give you the real picture, not just the ghost story.
And to do that properly, we kind of have to go back. Because this phone fear, it didn't just pop up yesterday. It's built on a long history of, cultural anxiety around the telephone itself.
Right. Long before smartphones, the phone was already sometimes an instrument of horror in stories.
Absolutely. We can trace this whole template way back to a classic urban legend from the 1960s. You probably know it. The babysitter and the man upstairs.
Oh, definitely. That one's iconic.
And it really set the stage, didn't it? This idea of fear delivered through the phone line. A young girl alone getting these creepy, anonymous calls.
Have you checked the children? Super unsettling.
And the climax, the absolute terror, is when the police finally trace the call and deliver that line. The call is coming from inside the house.
Chilling. It established that the threat wasn't distant, it was immediate, physical, and the phone was the deceptive link to it. It turned a tool for connection into, a conduit for menace already inside your safe zone.
And that basic fear gets reinforced over and over by real-life events, by strange, inexplicable calls that seem to predict or precede tragedy. It creates this whole digital mythology around the phone.
Okay, so give us some examples. What are these real-life incidents that feed into this? The ones that seem, untraceable or foreboding?
Well, one truly bizarre one goes back to November 22nd, 1963. The day JFK was assassinated. An operator in Oxnard, California, received a call around 10:00 a.m. local time.
Okay.
It was a whispering woman. She first said the president would die at 10:10 a.m., then changed it to 10:30 a.m. Now, Kennedy was shot in Dallas at 12:12 p.m. Central Time.
Which is 10:30 a.m. California time.
Exactly. That call predicted the precise time of death hours before it happened. And authorities, they could never trace it, never found the source.
That was deeply unsettling. Just hangs there, unexplained. What else? You mentioned harassment, too.
Yeah, there's the extreme case of Bashir Kochachi, a restaurant manager in D.C. Starting back in 1983, he endured almost 10 years of constant harassing calls.
10 years? How many calls are we talking?
15 to 20 calls a day. Threatening, extortionate, just relentless psychological warfare. And get this, if he traveled, say, to a sister restaurant in Pennsylvania for a short time, the calls would immediately follow him there.
That's terrifyingly precise. Dedicated stalking. Could the FBI trace them?
They tried, but all they could ever pin down were random payphones scattered across the D.C. area. The caller remained a ghost in the machine, always untraceable, always just out of reach. It feeds that narrative that the system itself can hide menace.
Okay, so untraceable calls, harassment. What about calls linked more directly to physical danger?
Well, that template tragically plays out in some high-profile crime cases. Think about Amy Mihaljevic, the 10-year-old girl abducted in 1989.
The killer called her first, right? That was the setup.
Exactly. A stranger called her, pretending her mom got a promotion and he was supposed to help Amy buy a surprise gift. That call lured her to the shopping center where she was last seen. The phone was the tool of deception, the vector for the initial contact.
Horrible. And it doesn't always stop with the victim, does it?
Yeah.
I remember the Long Island serial killer case.
Right. Melissa Barthelny disappears. A week later, her younger sister, Amanda, starts getting calls, taunting calls.
From Melissa's own phone.
From Melissa's phone. For about 6 weeks. The caller, presumably the killer, tormented Amanda, eventually admitting her sister was dead, and again, police struggled. They could only narrow down the calls to big areas like Times Square, Penn Station. Tracking, even then, was hard.
And then there's the really, really weird stuff, like calls from people who aren't supposed to be able to call.
You mean like the Charles Peck case?
Yeah, that one is just mind-bending. Tell us about that.
Okay, so Charles Peck died in a California train crash back in 2008. A terrible accident. Searchers couldn't find his body immediately.
But his phone was still active.
His phone was active. In the 12 hours between the crash and finding his body, his phone made 35 separate calls.
The 55 calls. To who?
To his family members, his fiancé, friends, people close to him. And when they answered, just silence. 35 silent calls from a dead man's phone before he was found. There's no easy explanation. It's uncanny. It reinforces that feeling that phones can act strangely, inexplicably, almost supernaturally, especially around tragedy.
So all this history, these weird events, they create fertile ground for the modern myth.
Exactly. It shows why the idea of a malicious phone call is so, sticky, as researchers might say. It's not just about new tech fear, it's layered onto decades of this stuff. There's actually research, like in the African Journal of Biomedical Research, that talks about this.
What does it say?
Basically, that technology often moves faster than our understanding. When there are gaps in what we know, especially about complex tech.
Anxiety rushes in.
Precisely. And myths emerge to fill those gaps. They give us a narrative, a story, to make sense of confusing digital threats. The long ring myth works because it touches on universal themes: mortality, losing control, who we are in this digital world.
Okay, that makes sense. The history provides the emotional resonance. Now, let's bring it back to the present day and the theory itself. We need to give the believers a fair shake.
Right.
This theory persists partly because the underlying fears are legitimate, right? Tracking, cloning, identity theft, those things do happen. So let's look at the evidence proponents point to charitably. What's argument number one?
Okay, the first big piece is that the long ring isn't random. It's supposedly a deliberate timing mechanism. The idea is that answering after that specific duration, maybe 7 or 8 rings, triggers some hidden spyware already on the phone or delivered during the call.
Like answering completes the circuit for the malware.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That the extended time is needed for, say, a buffer overflow attack or some kind of digital handshake to complete, and picking up is the final necessary step.
But we know, and this is where it gets tricky, that immediate tracking is possible, sometimes without you doing anything at all. We hear about zero-click exploits.
And that's the crucial context. The reality is, sophisticated threats do exist that can compromise your phone without you clicking a link or even answering a call. The prime example everyone talks about is Pegasus spyware.
Developed by NSO Group, used by governments.
Right. And it's notorious specifically because it often uses zero-click exploits. The attack can be delivered just by the phone processing a malicious network packet or even receiving a certain type of message notification. You don't have to do anything.
So wait. If zero-click exists, and it's the ultimate stealth attack, why would the conspiracy insist on the long ring and the need to answer? Doesn't zero-click kind of disprove their mechanism?
Logically, yes, it seems to undermine the necessity of answering. But here's the thing. The fear Pegasus represents, total surveillance, location tracking, call monitoring, is very real.
Right.
And while Pegasus was initially state level...
It trickles down.
Yeah.
Or similar tools become available.
Exactly. The capabilities, if not Pegasus itself, are becoming more widespread. Tools like FinSpy, Dark Comet, Android Rat, SpyNote, these are illicit spy tools that can offer deep phone access. They might get installed via other means, like a malicious app or link, but the outcome is that tracking proponents fear.
So the fear of the result being tracked instantly is valid, even if the trigger, the long ring, is probably wrong. People latch on to the tangible action, answering, because the real mechanisms, zero-click malware, feel abstract and uncontrollable.
I think that's a big part of it. The fact that your phone's GPS can be turned against you is scary enough. Any weird phone behavior then becomes a potential sign of that scary outcome, even if the logic doesn't quite hold up.
Okay, what's the second pillar of the evidence?
This one's about instant identity theft and phone cloning. The argument here is that the really long ring allows the attacker enough time to execute a deep system compromise specifically to copy the phone's unique identity.
Like grabbing the digital fingerprint of the phone itself during that extended connection.
That's the idea, that answering forces the phone's modem or systems to reveal critical identifiers needed for cloning.
And again, the scary part is, phone cloning is a real thing. It actually happens. But how does it really work? It's not just answering a call, is it?
No, definitely not. There are two main verifiable ways cloning happens, and neither involves the duration of the ring. First, there's SIM card cloning.
Okay, what does that entail?
This focuses on duplicating the data on your SIM card, specifically the secret authentication key. It's like a password your SIM uses to prove to the network that it's really you.
And if someone copies that key onto another SIM card,
then their card can effectively impersonate yours on the network. They can potentially intercept your incoming calls and, crucially, your text messages. Think about all those verification codes sent by SMS.
oh wow, bank codes, password resets, 2FA codes, they'd get them all. That basically hijacks your number.
Totally. Your phone number becomes their key to your digital life. The second method is device cloning. This goes a bit deeper. It involves copying the phone's unique hardware identifiers, the IMEI, which is like the phone's serial number, and the IMSI, which identifies your specific subscription on the network.
Okay, that sounds serious. How would an attacker get those without having the phone physically or hacking it directly?
Often this is done using something called an IMSI catcher, which is basically a fake cell phone tower.
A fake tower, like a portable one.
Exactly. They set it up near a target. It broadcasts a signal that's stronger than the legitimate towers nearby, so phones in the area automatically connect to it thinking it's real.
And when your phone connects?
It does what it's programmed to do. It identifies itself to the tower by transmitting its IMEI and MSI. The MSI catcher just collects them.
So your phone just volunteers its identity to the fake tower?
Pretty much. Once the attacker has those numbers, they can program them onto another device. Now that device looks like yours to the network, intercepting your communications. Again, it's network manipulation or exploiting protocols, not about how long a phone rang before you answered.
Okay, so tracking is real, cloning is real, but the long ring isn't the mechanism. What's the third argument believers use? This one feels more visceral.
Yeah, this one taps directly into true crime. It's the idea that the call itself, especially a long, persistent one, is a direct threat assessment. A killer or kidnapper testing the waters, seeing if you're home, if you're vulnerable, before they make a physical move.
And this resonates because, like we discussed with Amy Mihaljevic, sometimes the phone is the prelude to tragedy.
Exactly. Or think about Amber Tuccaro, the woman hitchhiking in 2010. She was on a recorded call with her brother while in the car with the man who likely killed her.
Right, you can hear her getting increasingly scared on that recording.
Yeah, her voice changes, she sounds panicked, and she eventually says to the driver, "You better not take me where I don't want to go." It's heartbreaking, but it reinforces that link. A strange or unsettling phone interaction can immediately precede danger. The phone captures that moment of dawning horror.
So the long ring just becomes a stand-in for any kind of weird call that feels like a bad omen, because sometimes, tragically, they are.
Precisely. It taps into that documented reality, even if the specific detail of the long ring is the mythical part.
Okay. We've laid out the history, the fear, the believers' arguments, and the real underlying threats. Now, for the core of conspiracy deconstructed. The deconstruction. Let's dismantle the specific trigger, that long, silent ring. What's really happening most of the time.
Right. Let's bring it back down to earth. The overwhelming majority of calls that ring for ages and then go silent when you answer, or just disconnect before voicemail. They're technical artifacts, usually from telemarketing operations.
Telemarketers.
Yeah.
Not hackers or stalkers.
Mostly, yeah. The terms used by regulators are abandoned calls, that's the FTC's term in the US, or silent calls, which is what Ofcom in the UK calls them.
Okay, so what causes an abandoned or silent call to behave like that? Why the long ring and then dead air?
It's typically down to the software these places use, automatic call distributors, or ACDs, and predictive dialer systems. These things are designed for maximum efficiency, meaning they dial way more numbers than there are agents available.
They're trying to make sure an agent always has someone on the line the second they're free.
Exactly. The system might dial, say, 3, 4, 5 numbers for every single agent who's actually logged in and ready to talk. It's playing the odds.
So if you answer, but all the agents are still busy on other calls,
then the system has a problem. There's no one to connect you to. Often, these systems have a very short window, maybe just a couple seconds to find a free agent after you pick up. If it can't,
It just hangs up.
just hangs up. To you, it's a silent call. Or, if you don't answer quickly, it might keep ringing for an unusually long time while it tries to manage its queue, and then disconnect before your voicemail even kicks in.
So the creepy, persistent silent call isn't a prelude to doom. It's just bad robocall plumbing. A system optimizing for agent talk time, failing, and leaving you with dead air.
That's the mundane reality most of the time. It's an efficiency glitch, not a targeted attack vector initiated by the ring itself.
Okay, that covers the bulk of them. But what about those really weird ones? The calls that seem to come from nowhere, late at night, maybe not even showing up on caller ID? The phantom calls.
Ah, yes, the phantom calls. Those definitely fuel the legend. Surely those are hackers probing the lines, right?
You'd think so.
But again, usually, no. Often the explanation is incredibly local and, frankly, kind of boring. We found some great insights from, former phone technicians who dealt with this stuff.
And what did they find?
One common culprit, especially for landlines back in the day, was the phone's own alarm clock function.
Wait, landline phones had alarm clocks. I completely forgot about that. How does that cause a phantom call?
Well, if someone accidentally activated the alarm, maybe during a power flicker or just fiddling with buttons and didn't set a specific time, many systems would default to midnight, point of zero. So the phone just starts ringing itself at midnight.
So it's not an incoming call at all. The phone is just making noise.
Exactly. It's ringing locally. That's why it wouldn't show up on caller ID or the phone bill. The customer is baffled, thinking they're getting mysterious calls, but it's literally the phone unit itself making the sound.
That is anticlimactic. And I bet there's a pattern to when these complaints spike.
Oh, yeah. Technicians noted huge increases around daylight saving time. If the alarm was set for, say, midnight, and then the clocks changed, but the phone's internal clock didn't update automatically.
Suddenly, the phantom calls start happening at 1 a.m. instead of midnight.
Precisely. The user is convinced the haunting is adapting, but it's just the phone's primitive clock being off by an hour. Sometimes people would even mention seeing a weird bell symbol on the display.
Which was the alarm icon.
The sign of the haunting was literally the feature causing it.
The mundane explanation strikes again. Okay, any other weird causes for phantom rings?
Sure. Sometimes big corporate phone systems, PBXs, might dump overflowing call queues weirdly, causing strange line behavior, or even physical damage. There was one anecdote about a user whose plastic screen protector got a tiny nick right over a speed dial contact.
A nick in the plastic?
Yeah, apparently it simulated a constant button press, causing the phone to try and dial out spontaneously, especially if bumped at night. They called it a burn dial.
So, a damaged screen protector, not a secret agent. It really drives home the point, doesn't it? The real threats today aren't about answering the phone after a certain number of rings. They're about manipulation and exploiting weaknesses elsewhere.
Absolutely. The action has shifted. Forget the long ring. The real danger now is often vishing, voice phishing.
Okay, explain vishing. It's phishing, but using voice calls.
Exactly. Instead of a fake email or website the attacker calls you, they don't need to hack your phone technically. They hack you psychologically.
How do they do that?
They use social engineering. They'll impersonate someone you trust or fear your bank, the IRS, tech support, even the police. They create a sense of urgency, maybe say your account is compromised or you owe money or there's a warrant out for you.
Trying to panic you into giving up information?
Right. They want your PIMs, passwords, credit card number, social security number, or they might try to trick you into transferring money directly or installing remote access software on your computer or phone claiming they need it to fix a problem.
And technology is making these vishing scams even scarier, right, with AI?
Oh, definitely. The rise of AI voice cloning and deepfakes is a game changer. Attackers can now generate audio that sounds exactly like your boss, your family member, a known CEO, a government official.
So you might get a call that sounds exactly like your grandson asking for emergency money, but it's a scam.
Precisely. It makes the impersonation incredibly convincing, bypassing our natural skepticism. The attack targets your trust and emotions using the voice itself as the weapon, not the phone line's ringing pattern.
This connects directly to the really nasty stuff happening now, which focuses on stealing the phone number itself, right? Like SIM swapping.
Yeah, SIM swapping is huge and incredibly damaging. And again, it's mostly about social engineering, not technical exploits against your device directly.
How does a SIM swap attack work?
The attacker contacts your mobile phone carrier, pretending to be you. They might claim your phone was lost, stolen, or damaged. They use personal information they've maybe bought or phished elsewhere to convince the customer service rep they're you.
And then they ask the carrier too.
Activate a new SIM card, one the attacker possesses with your phone number.
Oh no, so the carrier just transfers your number to the scammer's SIM?
If the scammer is convincing enough or finds a weak link in the carrier's security, yes, it can happen frighteningly quickly. And the moment they control your number,
They get all your calls and texts, including verification codes.
exactly, they can then initiate password resets on your bank accounts, email, crypto wallets, anything linked to your phone number for security, and intercept the codes needed to take over.
That's terrifying. Your number is the master key and they steal the key itself. And then there are OTP bots. How do they fit in?
OTP bots automate part of this process, often working alongside other attacks. They exploit the timing of legitimate verification codes.
How does that sequence play out?
Okay, imagine this. Step 1. The attacker already has your username and password for, say, your bank account, maybe from a data breach. They try to log in.
Which triggers the bank to send a real verification code to your phone via SMS.
Right, you get a legitimate text from your bank with a code. Step 2. Almost instantly, you receive a phone call or text from an OTP bot. It sounds official, maybe mimicking the bank's automated system.
And it asks for the code.
Yes, it'll say something like, "We've detected a suspicious login attempt. To verify your identity, please enter the code we just sent you." Because you did just receive a code, and the call seems legitimate and urgent.
You might panic and read the code to the bot.
Many people do. And the moment you give that code to the bot, the attacker, who initiated the login attempt, enters it and gains access to your account. It's all about exploiting that moment of confusion and trust using coordinated automation. No long ring needed anywhere.
Okay, so the clear takeaway here is the specific fear about the long ring, debunked. It's telemarketers or weird technical glitches. But the general fear of phone compromise, tracking, identity theft, very, very real, just happening through different means. Vishing, SIM swapping, malware, 0 clicks.
Precisely. So for you listening, instead of worrying about ring duration, what should you actually look for? What are the verifiable signs that your phone might be compromised by these real threats?
Right, let's pivot to practical defense. Spying isn't usually invisible, it leaves traces. What are the telltale signs?
Well, sophisticated spyware takes resources, so one of the biggest clues is poor device performance. Is your battery draining way faster than usual?
Even when you're not using it much.
Especially then. Is the phone getting unusually warm even when idle? That could be background processors running. Also, keep an eye on your mobile data usage. Sudden, unexplained spikes might mean software is sending your data out.
Okay, performance issues. What about visual cues? Modern phones have some built-in warnings now, right?
Yes, and they are super important. On iPhones and most newer Androids, watch the status bar. An orange dot usually means your microphone is active. A green dot means your camera is active.
So if you see those dots when you're definitely not using the mic or camera.
That's a huge red flag. Something is accessing them without your permission. Similarly, look for the location services icon, often an arrow. If that's on persistently when you're not actively using maps or weather or something similar, it could indicate background tracking.
Those are great visual checks. What about checking call logs or settings?
Definitely check your call and text logs for any outgoing communication you don't recognize. Sometimes spyware sends coded messages. And critically, there are codes you can dial to check your phone's forwarding status.
Okay, give us those codes. These are practical tools.
To check if any calls or texts are currently being forwarded away from your phone, dial #21 tag, that's star, pound, 2, 1, pound, and hit send. Your phone should show you the status for different types of forwarding.
And if you want to just wipe the slate clean and disable all call forwarding, that might be active.
For that, you dial #002, pound, 002, pound, and hit send. That's a universal code to cancel all diverts. It's a good peace of mind check.
Excellent. #21 tag to check, #002 to cancel. Good actionable advice. So we've hit the tech hard. Let's circle back to the why. Why is this long ring myth so powerful, so sticky, even though it's technically wrong?
It really comes down to psychology and our relationship with technology. We're living in an age some call technological dystopianism. There's this constant drumbeat of innovation, but also a deep-seated fear about where it's all heading, about losing control.
Yeah, the feeling that tech is moving way too fast and we can't keep up, can't understand the risks.
Exactly. And when you're faced with threats that feel invisible and complex, like a data breach happening on a server miles away, or a zero-click exploit that offers no warning, the human brain craves simplicity, It looks for something tangible.
Something you can do.
Right. The long ring myth offers that. It gives you a simple, clear behavioral rule. Don't answer that specific type of call and you'll be safe. It feels like you're taking back control from the invisible hacker.
Even if it's a false sense of control.
Even then, it provides a concrete action to manage an abstract fear. It's a behavioral fix for a problem that feels overwhelming and systemic. Plus, these myths tap into deeper anxieties about identity.
How so?
The idea of phone cloning, for instance. It doesn't just feel like losing data. For some, it feels almost like losing a part of themselves, like a digital copy being misused. It touches on ideas of digital identity, maybe even a creepy kind of digital resurrection if your data lives on after you. The simple rule, don't answer the long ring, helps keep those bigger, scarier thoughts at bay.
Okay, let's synthesize this. The final verdict on the long ringing call from an unknown number.
Almost certainly benign in itself. It's likely an abandoned call from an automated dialer glitching out, or maybe a weird local issue like that landline alarm clock problem. The long ring itself is not the attack vector.
However, the fears it represents, being tracked, having your identity stolen, your phone cloned, those are absolutely real threats in the digital age.
Undeniably. But the real attacks use different methods. Sophisticated spyware like Pegasus, often via zero clicks, psychological manipulation through phishing and increasingly convincing AI deepfakes, or exploiting the phone number itself via SIM swapping and OTP bots.
So protection isn't about counting rings, it's about real cybersecurity hygiene.
Exactly. Run security scams use strong, unique passwords, enable two-factor authentication, preferably using an authenticator app, not just SMS. Be skeptical of unsolicited calls demanding info, and pay attention to those performance issues and visual indicators on your device.
All right, as we wrap up this deep dive, here's something to ponder. We've established your phone number is effectively a master key to your digital life. And we know that key can be stolen or cloned, often by exploiting human psychology or carrier loopholes, not complex tech wizardry aimed at the ringtone. So the question for you is this. If knowledge truly is power, what critical information about securing your own digital identity, beyond just ignoring a long ring, are you still overlooking?
Think about it. What steps haven't you taken? Let us know your thoughts. Maybe share any strange signs you've noticed on your own devices. Thanks for joining us on Conspiracy Deconstructed.